Hello, everyone. Pastor Nick here. Listen, I wanted to share just a couple minutes with you tonight because we're doing one of our fifth Friday nights, and we have everybody together just for fellowship. But I wanted to share a little blurb with you guys tonight because I know all of us have sometimes people in our lives or things in our lives where maybe they're in addictions, or maybe they're abusive, or maybe there's bad behavior or repeated behaviors that are just destructive. I want to talk to you for just a few minutes about encourage, don't enable. It becomes so easy in our relationships and in things we do to enable behaviors without even realizing it sometimes. Sometimes people are addicts and we cover for them and say it's not that bad or whatever. Sometimes they're abusive and we excuse it. Or sometimes that just repeated patterns of behaviors in our family or our children or people we know that are just destructive. It could be anything, but the situation doesn't get dealt with. It is repeated and over, and people make excuses, and sometimes it's us that make those excuses. And tonight I want to talk to you for just a minute about what the Bible says about that and how maybe we could handle things a little different. Many times, we think we're trying to encourage somebody, and we have the very best intentions of taking care of somebody, especially as a parent. You're taking care of a child, and we go to that child and they're in a destructive behavior. And even lately, it could be a phone. It could be this, right? We could be on our phones all the time. We could be gambling. We could be in some other addiction, chemical or alcohol. We could be in just abusive talk or let's be honest, laziness. We all can get there, right? But in all those things, sometimes that becomes habitual. And that's when we need to deal with it. And guys, we don't want to encourage those bad behaviors. We want to give, and we don't want to enable those bad behaviors. We want to encourage people to change. We want to encourage them to grow. We want to encourage them to be better, a better version of themselves, a better version of the person you need in your life and who you can be for them. Because sometimes our best intentions end up enabling and making those situations much worse than they need to be. Now, I'm going to give you a couple scriptures here, what the Bible says about encouraging. Number one is 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you're already doing." So listen, it is a good thing to encourage somebody to build them up, but it's not good to encourage a behavior that they have. There's a big difference there because sometimes the behaviors that we encourage are destroying the person, and we think we're doing them good. Look, we're just let me. I'll give you some cash, or I'll do this because I know you're not working because, well, you were hungover and you couldn't work. Let's be honest. Things like that, where if we just would change things a little bit, but we want to encourage them. We keep encouraging them. Listen, you can do this. You can give this up. I'll get you help. I'll do these things with you. You don't have to do this alone. Those statements are perfectly fine. But funding an addiction or funding other things, allowing abusive language and abusive behaviors, those things are not okay. We need to challenge that a little bit. We need to say, I know you can do better. The other verse I want to give you about encouraging is Hebrews 10:24, and it says, "Let us think of ways that we can motivate one another to acts of love and good works." Well, one of the ways we can actually do that is when we get to acts of love and good works, we really can start looking at ourselves and like, am I motivating them to good works and acts of love, or am I doing the opposite of that? And this is hard to say, and I'm not ever excusing abuse in a relationship. I'm not. But if you don't let people know that's not okay, then to them that's okay. And sometimes it means you have to step away from people. Sometimes it means you have to separate yourself for a safe distance so you can have these conversations. I'm never telling people to break up a marriage or anything like that, but I am telling people to be safe. If it's a child, sometimes you have to, like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to live somewhere else until you can get your act together, until you can learn to behave properly around me. Many times I've had to say to parents, when they ask, what do I do? I've done this, this, and this, and this. Kick them out of your house. And that's the hardest statement to say to somebody but with this intention that we kick them out, but we maintain communication. But I'm not funding you anymore. You're going to have to figure out your own life now. You know, some people I've done this with, the kids are 22 years old, living at home and just, are high or whatever. And it's not good, but it could also be the guy sitting in his mom's basement gaming all day, and he's 35 years old and hasn't got a job yet. Those behaviors need to change, and I'm not picking on anybody here, but what I'm saying is we can't just enable that behavior. We need to encourage them to change, encourage the change, encourage them onto acts of love and good works, things that will make them grow. What we don't want to do is keep enabling them. The Bible says it this way, that in Galatians 6:5 it says, for each of us is responsible for their own conduct. It's not your fault that your spouse or your friends or your kids or whatever do what they do. Now, if your kids are minors, yes, it's your job to correct them as a parent. But when they're adults, you can't keep letting them go and just see how it works out. When your spouse is abusive to you, it's okay to say that's not okay. When other people around you treat you badly, when you're on a job and people treat you badly, it's okay to say that's not okay. And yes, it may cost you the job. Yes, it may cost your friendships. It may cost you things, but you've got to do that. They're responsible for their actions. You're not. And that's where we run into problems with codependency and other things, where we feel responsible for things other people do. The second verse I'm going to give you is this, and this is important to hear. Take no part in worthless deeds of evil and of darkness. Instead, expose them. This is where the rubber meets the road with enabling, because we take part in their deeds. If it's abuse, we take part in it by not exposing it. And I'm not saying the abuse is your fault. What I'm saying is you do have the ability to say something about it. And I know that's tough. I've been in that kind of abusive relationship where I didn't even realize that I was in it. But when I did, I had to say something about it. I've been in situations where I've watched parents cover up the kids' things they did wrong. You ever see that, right? We all know we do that, right? I did it for my kids. You do it for yours? Oh, he's sick, My kid was sick 42 days one year from school. Okay. That wasn't because he was sick. What I can tell you is this. Many times, we have the best intentions, but the worst outcomes. We want to have the best intentions with the best outcomes, which means that we can't take any part in the deeds that they're doing. And if you support them in it and you okay it, then you're taking part in it. You need to expose those things and say, look, this is not okay. I need you to change. I need you to see what you're doing, and I need you to realize that you can't continue in this behavior. When we do that, then things begin to change in their lives. And here's the problem. It may not work the first try. It may not work the second try. Don't give up. Keep encouraging them and motivating them to acts of love and good deeds. Good deeds for themselves, good deeds for those around them. I'm not telling you got to create a saint out of a sinner. I'm telling you got to take a sinner and bring them healing. Take those people that are broken and hurting and just hurt other people because they are. And let them know it's not okay, but I'm here to help. In all these things, I want you to get this. I don't want you to embarrass or bash or destroy these people. I want you to communicate with them. In fact, Ephesians 4:29 says, don't use foul or abusive language, okay? Let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. See, what I want you to understand is I want to take these people and I want to encourage them, not by bashing them and saying you're a lousy, drunk, whatever. That's not what we're going after. Or, you've broken my heart so many times. That's not what we're going after either. What we want to go after is the chance to bring hope and healing, to bring a new life. And here's the thing about this. Healing comes on the pain of continuing the way we are outweighs the need for change. Let me say that the right way. We don't change because we can handle the pain. But when the pain gets increased, we have to make a choice. We can't continue the way we are. The pain of continuing hurts too much, so we have to change. We have to find healing and hope. And that's where the encouragement part comes in. You know, we don't enable it, which means sometimes we kick our kids out in the street for a bit. We keep contact with these people. Understand, you don't cut them off. You cut them off financially, but you don't cut off communication. And you say, you know, the minute you want help, I'm there for you. I'll take you to wherever you need to go. We'll get you medical help. We'll get you this. We'll get you that. You know, if it's a married couple and there's abusive stuff, we can try marriage counseling. We can do this. But you know, understand I'm keeping a safe distance. No matter what the situation is, I'm keeping a safe distance until the time that your behavior changes. That's what encouragement is. Enabling is encouraging them to keep doing the bad behaviors that they're doing. Encouragement is, I'm going to help you change for the better. Not for me, but for you. I want you to change for you. And they don't think they have the strength to do it. But if you stand by them in that way, just don't take part in the deeds that they do. Because that's what we do when we enable. We take part in it. So take this to heart, guys. You can help change a life just by saying, this isn't okay. Just by standing up and saying, you matter, you're important, but I'm not going to enable you to keep that behavior going. Make a good choice. Encourage them to change for the better. Guys, it's been great talking to you. I will see you next week.